Ron Paul, the insurgent, a powerful force in the first contests with an army of young voters.
We are dangerous to the status quo in this country.
Texas Congressman Ron Paul.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here tonight. I'm a congressman from Texas. I've been elected for 12 times, and also I practiced OBGYN for a 30-year period. I've also served 5 years in the military, and I'm the only U.S. veteran on this stage tonight. I think too often all of us are on the receiving ends of attacks from the media, and it's very disturbing because sometimes they're not based on facts, and we suffer the consequences. You know, sometimes it reminds me of this idea of getting corporations out of running campaigns, but what about the corporations that run the media? I mean, they're always in charge. And I think our responsibility, since sorting facts and fiction, the people have to sort this out, but I think setting standards are very important, and I'm very proud that my wife of 54 years is with me tonight.
We're in a state with 9.9% unemployment. And Jane asked this question. List 3 or more specific programs that will put American people back to work. Congressman Paul, I want to begin with you. Do you believe we need specific federal programs to put the American people back to work?
Well, most of the things the federal government could do to get us back to work is get out of the way. I'd like to name... I'd like to see the federal government have a sound currency. That creates a healthy economy. I would like to see massive reduction of regulations. I would like to see income tax reduced to near zero as possible. And that is what we have to do. We have to get the government out of the way. We have to recognize why we have unemployment. And it comes because we have a deeply flawed financial system that causes financial bubbles. The bubbles burst and you have the unemployment. Now, the most important thing to get over that hump that was created artificially by bad economic policies is to allow the correction to occur. You have to get rid of the excessive debt. You have to get rid of the malinvestment. And you don't do that by buying the debt off the people who were benefiting from it. So we, the people, shouldn't be stuck with these debts on these mortgage derivatives and all. We need to get that behind us, which means the government shouldn't be doing any bailout. So most of the things to improve the environment is getting the government out of the way and enforce contract laws and enforce bankruptcy laws.
Let's stay on the economy and let's stay on the South Carolina experience all you gentlemen have had. As you know, and as this audience reflects, this is a state incredibly proud of its military tradition and incredibly proud of its veterans. Many of those veterans who have served post 9/11, served honorably in Iraq and Afghanistan, are coming back to a terrible economy. Right now, unemployment rate for post 9/11 veterans aged 18 to 24 is at 22%. Congressman Paul, to you first, sir. Should the federal government be specifically targeting that part, or veterans coming back saying the unemployment rate is so high among that subgroup that the federal government should offer a tax incentive to employers or take other steps to help them, to incentivize the economy, to help them get jobs?
To some degree, but you really want to make the environment, the economy healthy for everybody and not designate special places. But to help them out to come back is probably necessary on some occasions now. But we have to think about how serious our problems are here, because we faced something much, much greater after World War II. We had 10 million came home all at once. But what did we do then? There were some of the liberals back then that said, oh, we have to have more work programs and do this and that. And they thought they would have to, do everything conceivable for those 10 million. They never got around to it because they came home so quickly. But you know what the government did? They cut the budget by 60%. They cut taxes by 30%. By that time, the debt had been liquidated, and everybody went back to work again. You didn't need any special programs. So but the one thing, talking about concern about the military and the veterans, I'm very proud that, I get twice as many donations from the active military people than all the rest put together. So I'm very concerned about them. I think where the real problem is we can create a healthy economic environment if we did the right things. But where the veterans really deserve help, both as a physician and as a congressman, is the people who come back and aren't doing well health-wise. They need a lot more help. We have an epidemic now of suicide of our military coming back, so they need a lot of medical help, and I think they come up shortchanged. They came up shortchanged after Vietnam War, Persian Gulf War, and even now. They don't get care from the Veterans Administration.
I think we all agree. Let's turn now and take a question from down in our audience tonight. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Sonny Cohn. I'm from Sevier County, Tennessee. My question to any of the candidates is, do any of you sincerely believe that Obamacare can either be repealed or reversed in its entirety?
Congressman Paul, you have the floor. Do you trust these men to repeal Obamacare?
Thank you. I thought maybe you were prejudiced against doctors and a doctor that practiced medicine in the military or something. No, I want to address the question. The gentleman asked whether he thinks we can repeal Obamacare. Theoretically, we can. The likelihood isn't all that good. We can diminish some of the effect, but I'm more concerned about a bigger picture of what's happening, and that is government involvement in medicine. I had the privilege of practicing medicine in the early 60s before we had any government, and it worked rather well, and there was nobody out in the street suffering with no medical care. But Medicare and Medicaid came in, and it just expanded. But even when we had the chance to cut back on it, when we had a Republican Congress and a Republican president, we gave him prescription drug programs. Senator Santorum supported it. You know, that's expanding the government. So it's endless, and most of them are bankrupt. Prescription drugs, they're not going to be financed. Medicare is not financeable. Medicaid's in trouble. But nobody talks about where the money's going to come from. Now, even in my budget proposal, which is very, very tough because I'm going to cut $1 trillion the first year, but I try to really, even though these programs should have never started, but a lot of people are dependent on, I want to try to protect the people who are dependent on medical care. Now, where does the money come? My suggestion is look at some of the overseas spending that we don't need to be doing. We have troops in Korea since the Korean War, in Japan since World War II, in Germany since World War II. Those are subsidies to these countries. And we keep fighting these wars that don't need to be fought. They're undeclared. They never end. Newt pointed out, you know, World War II was won in less than 4 years. Afghanistan, we're there for 10 years. Nobody says, where's the money come? We could work our way out of here and take care of these people with these medical needs, but we can't do it with the current philosophy of the government taking care of everybody forever on medical care, cradle to grave, and being the policeman of the world. We will get rid of all this government program. Unfortunately, because we're going bankrupt and you're going to have runaway inflation and our checks are going to bounce, and that's going to be a lot worse problem than we're facing tonight.
John Marcoux from the great city of Charleston. Gentlemen, when will you release your tax return specifically?
Congressman Paul, I want to start with you. We reached out to your campaign this week, and they said you would not release your tax returns. Why?
Well, I hadn't thought it through. I don't have an intention of doing it, but for a different reason. I'd probably be embarrassed to put my financial statement up against their income, and I don't want to be embarrassed because I don't have a greater income. Now, I mean, it may come to that, but right now I have no intention of doing that. I think with our financial statements, congressional financial statements, I think you know more about me than I know about myself. That's how my wife found out so much about what we were doing, you know, from my financial statement. Now, I don't think people need that because nobody's challenging me because I have no conflict of interest, and I don't even talk to lobbyists, and I don't take that kind of money. So there's no conflict.
Congressman Paul, how do you revive Made in America?
You have to create the right conditions to bring these companies back, and they have to bring their capital back, and it shouldn't be taxed. But Apple's a great company, but the way you ask the question, it infers that because there's a bunch of workers overseas, it hasn't benefited a lot of people here. The consumers obviously have been benefited by a good company, well run. But obviously there's a lot of employees with Apple in this country as well. I don't think that's the number that you have to be concerned about. A lot of people worry about us buying and money going overseas. But if you send money to China, let's say they're paying wages over there and we send dollars over there, well, they don't put the dollars in a shoebox. They have to spend those dollars. Unfortunately, they're buying our debt and perpetuating our consumerism here and our debt here. But immediately there's a benefit to us because those dollars come back. But also, when you get products, if they're buying products cheaper over there, let's say the computer cost $100 instead of $1,000. Well, the person's just saved $900. That helps the economy. That $900 stays in that person's pocket. So whether it's shoes or a computer, so we shouldn't be frightened about trade or sending money on, but we have to look at the reason why they're doing this. I mean, even the car companies, there's obviously a problem with car companies here. They're in bigger trouble. We had to bail them out. But there are foreign companies that build cars in this country, and they make a living out of it. So it's more complex than that, but we have to do whatever we can. I think the union problem, the right-to-work states, and of course I've chided Senator Santorum on this because he has voted, you know, against right-to-work. But we have to change these conditions to invite people back. But believe me, the regulations and the fact that we are the issuer of the reserve currency of the world is a real temporary blessing for us because it's easy for us to export our money. That's, unfortunately, our greatest export, and they're still taking our money. Soon, though, they're going to quit, and this whole ball game is going to end, and we better get prepared for it.